and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Welcome to Passion Fruits, a passion project for passionate people. I'm your rotten, moldy apple, Daniel.
Daniel, that's so sad.
This is how I'm feeling today, whoever you are. I don't know who you are.
Well, I will introduce myself. I am Adam, your persimmon person. And I am the king of alliteration, and I am the co-host of this wonderful podcast, the podcast, if you will.
The Passion Fruits podcast, a passion project for passionate people.
Daniel,
yes.
Question for you.
Oh,
first of all, what is a podcast? Second of all, what do we do on this podcast?
A podcast for all you boomers out there is like radio for the internet. And what we do on this podcast, we examine life and how to live it almost. We get down into the dirt and the grime and the dust because as we are born from dust, thence we shall become dust. So yeah, this is our podcast, Jesus Talk. Welcome to Jesus Talk. A Jesus cast for Jesus people.
Oh no. Oh boy. I would like to take a little bit of time, Daniel, if you will allow me, king of podcasts.
Yes.
We do have a guest on the show today as well to talk about some of the things that he is passionate about. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself?
I certainly would, Adam. Hi, guys. I'm your guava guru, Jeff, and I'm just...
Yes!
No.
Jeff, well done. Well done, Jeff.
Just a guy who likes
Hey,
guava.
Jeff, I'm going to kick you off, okay? You dick. Thanks for joining us, Jeff, and thanks for... Because, of course, as many people are right now, just in the midst of self-isolating for the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us remotely, Jeff. I understand you are recording completely naked.
Actually, I'm in my underwear, but I am eating right now, so this is going to be an enjoyable experience, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. All of our, as Adam calls them, billions of fans are really going to enjoy listening to your naked body and also your naked mouth eating porridge.
Just all you listeners out there, just take a second, stop, and just try to visualize the awesomeness. All right.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, thank you for joining us, Jeff.
Happy to be here.
So, well, I kind of hope so. Otherwise, there's not much point to this. Adam, how did you meet Jeff?
Jeff and I met in our respective graduate programs. He was 1 year behind me, and just he and I went and got our MBAs at the same program. He was
that's basketball.
Came in. Sorry,
basketball NBA.
Oh
yeah,
yes,
it's a post college doctorate in it's like Dr. J. It's all about the NBA.
But I identified as someone who liked cycling in my graduate program or in the business program, and then Jeff came along and was like, "Hey, I like bikes too." I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever, Jeff." And then he's really good at bikes. I found out very quickly.
So Adam, I think it was actually Ben that connected us or recommended that we get together and start riding.
It was Ben.
Does Ben listen to this podcast?
Most likely not.
Then I don't want to fucking talk about him. Ben, sorry, buddy, you're not getting talked about tonight.
Well, he just did, so.
But Jeff, you are on this podcast because you are such an avid cyclist. More specifically, you are an avid gravel cyclist, one who was registered for the Dirty Kanza gravel race this year. Why don't we kind of just hop into the Cocoa Corner? Or no, sorry. Why don't we hop into Passion Fruitspedia and give a little synopsis on what exactly is gravel cycling? Jeff, if you would like to kind of talk about yourself, talk about gravel cycling, and what it really means to you.
Well, I really hate talking about myself, but I'll give it a try. But I don't think I need to talk about myself in the context of gravel cycling. So I think that's okay.
No, we want to reduce you right down to Jeff as the gravel cyclist. So,
okay. Well, given the name gravel cycling, it's cycling on gravel. It's as simple as that. But
oh my God. My mind is blown.
I know.
All right. This will be kind of like a roundtable idea, like talk about what gravel cycling is. So yeah, like Jeff said, road cyclists, when roads became rougher and as the 20th century kind of progressed into the age that we are now in of flying cars and Facebook, people wanted to get off roads because they're dangerous. It's scary. So people started to turn towards riding on fire roads with their mountain bikes. But frankly, mountain bikes aren't as twitchy as road bikes. So they started making gravel bikes, and people rode on gravel. It kind of came out of cyclocross, which Adam and I talked about maybe a little bit on our mountain biking episode. But, gravel cycling is just getting off the beaten path, finding different roads to take to get down to your local ice cream shop that you might not normally take.
Mapleview Creamery.
Oh yeah, that's one of the best. Adam, what do you think gravel cycling is?
So I have a similar perspective, but gravel. So as background, the concept of gravel cycling or gravel biking or gravel grinding really started to come into popularity probably 6-7 years ago or so, would you say?
Right. Yeah. It was
where I grew up, and
I agree with you, Adam.
Where I grew up in the type of road riding that I did, riding road bikes meant that you rode on gravel roads, because I grew up in a fairly rural or agrarian part of Virginia.
The sticks.
And
exactly.
I'm
the
sorry.
Sticks.
Did I say that out loud?
It was the Sticks. It was the Sticks.
Sorry, Jeff was actually just playing with his devil sticks, and that's what he says when he starts playing with them.
The Sticks. But gravel. The joke for all of us that kind of grew up riding in the Shenandoah Valley area was that when gravel grinding became quote unquote popular, was that it's like, yeah, that's the type of road riding we've done for ages. And
so, Adam, were you the inventor of it?
I was not the inventor of it, unfortunately. I wish I could have patented that shit, but oh well. So for the cynics among us, for the cycling industry cynics among us, the concept of gravel grinding is yet another way for the cycling industry to capitalize upon an already known trend to sell more bikes and further differentiate product lines.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Adam taking them to task.
No, but to both your all's points earlier, I mean, gravel cycling has really become popular because there's so much press around the dangers of riding on the road, and riding gravel roads and having bikes that are capable of tackling harsher terrain really expands the options for a lot of people for where they want to go. And then I think there isn't as much of it's more about the experience as opposed to the outright speed associated with gravel racing, at least. So, would you all agree, Jeff, Daniel?
I've raised my hand. I don't know if you guys can see it.
We can't, but I could feel it.
But yeah, no, Adam, to your point, and at least personally, I feel like my draw to gravel cycling is less about the perceived dangers of riding on the road and more about the adventure that can be found in these sort of remote and not out of touch, but not frequently traveled areas. So that's my draw, more so than the safety aspect. So before I got a gravel bike, I would take my road bike off-road as frequently as I could. Being from southern New Jersey, though, the terrain is mostly sand. So there are very few opportunities to do so there without just ending in annihilation. But being, down here in the South, in North Carolina now, there's a lot more opportunity to explore the unbeaten and road less traveled.
Very insightful. Very poetic too, Jeff.
But Jeff, so how did you because in Adam and I, in our mountain biking episode, probably our most popular episode ever, 500 million listens to that one.
Dang.
Adam and I talk about how we got into cycling and how our love of cycling progressed. How did you really get into cycling as a sport?
Yeah, so how much time do we have?
We have about 24 hours.
Oh, okay. I got plenty of time then. So I actually started off my athletic endeavors as a runner. Ran cross country and track throughout high school and college, and continued that a little bit post-collegiately. But yeah, so I ran for the better part of a decade, and I really enjoyed the sport of cross country was my favorite. And that's it's very close to mountain biking or gravel cycling. You're in the woods, away from the hustle and bustle of society. So I guess I really got into cycling. I used it first as a cross training activity to give my legs a break from the pounding. But back in 2013, I suffered a really bad ankle injury, and it took forever to heal up. And long sustained blocks of running, would really bother it. So I started cycling more and more. Eventually bought a decent road bike, and then in 2015 I entered my first race, and I got dropped. So, well,
wait, what was your first race though?
It was so I was living at the time on Oahu in Hawaii.
Yeah,
and the race was the Pineapple Hill Sprint. So I forget the exact distance. I want to say it's 11 miles, but you start in the town of Haleiwa, famous surf town, and then you just race up. They call it Pineapple Hill. It's about a 7-mile long hill that rolls through the Dole pineapple fields.
Cool.
And you get to the top, you hang a right, and it's like a rolling 1.5 miles or so to the finish line. And I stayed with the group up until I got dusted in the final sprint. So,
yeah,
it was a learning
well, that's
experience.
so strange. It's strange to hear about Jeff as the novice cyclist, because I just know you as like the guy who can borrow somebody's bike and win every cyclocross race he enters, and then be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go do a 200-mile ride the next day," and it ain't no thing.
I don't think that ever happened. The 200-mile ride part.
It in my dreams it did.
Wow.
when I was alone at night thinking of Jeff.
Oh, sorry guys.
Is this uncomfortable now?
I think I have to run.
No, you can't run because of your ankle. You have to
house
bike.
is on fire.
Don't joke about that, Jeff. We're all living with terrible anxiety right now, so don't even joke about that. So how did your love for cycling kind of progress after you got dusted? Because, I mean, some people would
hang it up.
I don't know too many people who would kind of hang it up, but some people would definitely feel like discouraged after kind of a sound beating like that.
I think the reason I stuck it out is just the sport of cycling itself. Forget the racing side of it, but just the act of cycling and being out, the speed and the ability to, travel to places under your own power and see different areas. It's a great way, one, to explore. If you're living in a city or wherever you might be, it's a great way to get out and see your surroundings, not from the inside of a metal coffin.
Nice.
You get to experience all the smells and the headwinds and the rain.
Very
really chalking it up to be quite a.
So should we preface that Jeff, should we preface the fact that you were a sailor in the Navy and sailed on submarines?
In the Navy, Jeff was a sailor. In the Navy, he was not a tailor. In the Navy.
There's several true things about that. I was in the Navy. I was not a tailor. I was on submarines. Yeah. So I guess, being outside
you like that.
It was a good escape.
You can just say that, Jeff, being outside, and then a 5-second pause.
Like where I work now, it's great because there's so many windows. I can see for miles. Anyways.
As opposed to under the sea.
Under the sea. Everything's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. That bit you can cut out.
No, I'm going to keep that in. Come on. Well, Jeff, that is fascinating. So in moving from New Jersey and Hawaii and then ending up in North Carolina, it sounds like in Hawaii you were doing mostly road riding and mountain biking, or how did you kind of discover gravel cycling? Because I want to get ultimately to your passion, how you're crazy enough to sign up for Dirty Kanza. So let's kind of hear that.
Sure. So I actually bought a mountain bike. This was back in 2012. I was living just outside of Charleston in South Carolina. And I got a specialized carve. So it was 29, nice. Yeah, 29 hardtail. It was white and black and green.
Nice.
Sick colors.
Hell yeah.
So nasty on it. But
Jeff hangs up and we can never contact him again. It's like, Jeff, we have to finish this episode.
Yeah, so I got that bike and there were trails around the base where I was at, and also within riding distance from my house. There was another set of trails. So I'd do that, on the weekends, or if it was, summertime, days were longer, so after work I could get out for a quick hour or so. I enjoyed being on the dirt. Again, going back to cross country and running in the trails, it speaks to me, man. I feel it in my bones.
Cool.
But yeah, so Hawaii was Hawaii's an interesting place because, as I'm sure you're aware, it's an island.
What?
Yeah. Contrary to popular opinion.
I'm learning so much.
Yeah, I know. And there's not a whole lot of gravel road to be had.
Right.
And what is there is usually on private land, so it's hard to access without risk of fine or imprisonment or being shot on site.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, so road was the safe alternative. Fortunately, there's a lot of opportunity to experience different terrains, within the road side of things, because you have all these different valleys that run up to the ridgeline. So you can go a whole day and just go up and down these valleys, climbing and descending. And you're going from city of Honolulu, Waikiki, up into the jungle and then back down. And it's quite an experience, to get that sort of range in a single ride.
That is pretty cool. Jeff, I do want to get into a little bit of just not just what drew you to cycling, but specifically long distance cycling, because your history as a cross country runner, and then I would say that there are plenty of cyclists, either mountain bikers or road cyclists or casual cyclists, that don't strive for these super long endurance rides, which you have done ever since I've known you. But it seems like you've really you're constantly trying to push the limit of what you can do, whether it be that big climb out in Hawaii or kind of these random 150, 200 mile rides that you do here in North Carolina. Like what draws you to that aspect versus criterium racing or like shorter form mountain biking or just doing a loop in Umstead kind of thing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And part of it's the challenge. It's like, I've never ridden this far. Can I do it? Stringing together just cool loops like out in Western North Carolina here. We have Mount Mitchell and the Blue Ridge Parkway. And so, Adam, to answer your question, I'm still not entirely sure that I've found where I belong in cycling. I've done some crits and they can be fun. Part of the reason I don't do them regularly is because, as you are both aware, I'm coming off a collarbone fracture, not from a crit, but I don't want to end up in another similar situation or have to buy a new bike because some dodo had in 3 riders up touched wheels and took out half the field.
Those dodo heads.
Yeah,
I like to call them chowder heads.
I don't know why I called them dodo heads. I think I'm hallucinating.
Are you like a grandpa from the 1950s? The hell, Jeff? What did this ride today do to you?
It mixed up the wires in my brain.
Gotcha. All the pollen has infected your brain cells and you're almost a zombie. But on a point that you said, Jeff, you said that you are still kind of not sure that you've found the exact kind of cyclist you are. Can you expound on that a little bit more? Because I don't want to equate because you are an extremely good cyclist. Like, you are very fit. All the races that you enter, you seem to get first place by 50 miles. Like,
some of them are not 50 miles, so that's not possible.
Okay, so
thank you.
Shut up. What do you mean by you saying that you're not sure that you've found your niche as a cyclist, if you will?
That's a very existential question.
Hey, that's kind of what we go for here. Also, Jeff, what is the meaning of life? And if you could talk about that right now. Oh, nice. You got it. Yes, Jeff. Yes. All right. Episode over. Sorry, guys. We're done.
So, to answer your question, Dan, I don't like to toot my own horn. Oh my gosh. I don't like to toot my own horn. Look, you here, you dodo head.
Look at here. Doy-oy-oy.
Doy-oy-oy-oy-oy.
Yeah, this will be the section where how every episode we have a bunch of sound effects. This is where I'll put in the sound effects. Don't worry.
Okay. Like
hubba hubba.
A whirly girl. Awooga.
Wait, Adam, do your Claxton horn impression.
Wait, which like wee wee.
Yeah,
that's what we love.
But
all right.
So I would consider myself more of an all-arounder, if you will. Like a Peter Sagan, only not nearly as what do I want to
lame?
Use? Yes, not nearly as lame.
Yeah. Much more personable,
better looking, faster, richer. Yeah.
Not a robot.
The whole 9 yards. Yeah. So that being said, there are a lot of things that I still want to do, and right now I'm surfing the gravel wave, man, and it's fun.
Hell yeah.
And I enjoy it because it's fun.
Wow, cool.
The other thing that I think we forgot to mention is that Jeff did just get back, literally walked back in the house in his apartment from 142-mile ride. So
yeah, we were trying to start recording this at 8:00.
Yeah,
and Jeff was like, "You dodo heads, I'm still riding." And Adam and I are like, "We're in our PJs, okay, Jeff? We're nice and comfy in our
I was dying.
AC houses."
I'm amazed, Jeff. Your ride time was almost 9 hours.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I wasn't banking on that, to be real with you.
As you thought you were going to go faster?
I would have liked to, but so given the current state of affairs and the shelter in place and social distancing and all that, it's hard to do a long ride if you don't have support right now, because you can't stop at any convenience stores. Well, actually, you probably could stop at convenience stores. I think they're open, but there's not many on the
Yeah.
Greenway. Anyways, I digress. But like the parks and stuff, the water fountains have been shut off, so you can't just stop and fill up a bottle. So I was fully self-supported today. I probably had 20 pounds worth of stuff, 5 water bottles and a liter of cola. No, a liter and a half Camelback. So over a gallon of water, and then all the food and snacks and Sammy's that I could fit in my bags. So I was loaded down.
How did you do on the preparation part? Like, was that an appropriate amount of food and water to get you through 143 miles?
I didn't run out of anything. So yes.
Damn, nice.
But the counter argument or counterpoint to that is I couldn't really eat anything the last 2 hours.
Why is that?
I think I was having a little bit of gut rot going on.
Oh, shit.
I was just feeling nauseous. But yeah, and couple that with the fact that today was the hottest day it's been all year so far.
Yeah.
That wasn't the best.
So Jeff, because today's not any special day except it being the hottest day of the year so far.
And a Saturday.
And a Saturday. You're right. Thank you. Not the Lord's Day, but tomorrow will be the Lord's Day. But that's when you're going to rest. Today you were working. So
that's right.
What kind of makes you just get up one day earlier this week and say, I'm going to do 150 miles, 143 miles on Saturday? How, we've heard of your kind of humble beginnings as a cyclist in Hawaii, going to Charleston, now to this Uber robot cyclist in North Carolina. What gives you that motivation?
I'd say right now, especially given the social distancing, I don't have to rely on a group ride at the moment. So I can just kind of go out and do my own thing. And then, as I'm sure you're both aware, we have some random challenges that pop up in Slack, like this Umstead 10,000 feet thing, which I thought about doing today. Good thing I didn't, because they closed the park. So that would have been,
right,
for naught. And then, so I was like, all right, I got to do something else because I'm bored. I just want to get outside.
So, Jeff, I want to dive in a little bit on what you said is you don't need to rely on group rides now. But from my observations, you've never really needed to rely on groups to ride, where I think there are a lot of people that are into cycling because it can be a social activity.
Oh yeah. I mean, cycling is definitely a social sport. But I don't know, I kind of like to just do my own thing a lot of the time.
Is there a particular reason for why you like to do your own thing? Is it just a mentality thing, or the fact that we're all slower than you?
No,
yeah.
It's not. It's got nothing to do with the speed. I mean,
I don't mean to put words into your mouth, Jeff, but I think
going to.
But here he goes.
Yeah. Let me just mansplain this to you real quickly, Jeff.
Please do.
No, but there are times when I ride my mountain bike where I really enjoy riding alone because I can go at my own pace, whether or not that's slower or faster than anyone else. And there's also a Zen mentality that I get where I can just shut my brain off, other than dodging trees, and where I don't have to worry about.
Adam, you're doing it wrong then.
But that's what I like. So I enjoy riding with people. I also really enjoy riding alone.
Yeah.
So,
No,
does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, and just being able to get into that sort of flow state and not have to worry about crossing wheels or something. Riding in a large group can be stressful, especially if you're not familiar with the people that you're riding with. So, you take on a little bit of extra risk there. And, I think the other thing too is a lot of people don't want to do some of the things that I'm doing because they think I'm crazy. So
Jeff, this is kind of related to your ethos and your mentality on cycling and cycling alone. Have you ever read the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
See, I have it and I've started it. I actually borrowed it from my cousin. I've never finished it though. Go on.
That sounds about right for that book, because it can be kind of a dense, heavy-handed, preachy book about exactly what you're talking about. Because, I mean, literally what you said about people in cars and their metal cages and their coffins, if you will, is almost what the author in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance talks about with riding a motorcycle, about how it's like when you're in a car, basically you're watching the landscape go by from a TV screen. But when you're on a motorcycle, here, a bicycle, you're like in the environment, in the landscape, and actually like part of it. So is that kind of what's driving you? And if we could get into talking about Dirty Kanza, is that what is kind of driving you to do Dirty Kanza?
So real
quick,
if
you want to explain what Dirty Kanza is, would be good as well.
So just real quick, I've never told anyone this before, but my my pen name is actually Robert Perzig.
Oh.
So no, I'm just kidding.
Nicely done, Jeff.
So wait, you're like 75 years old and you've also possibly also dead?
I've aged well. What can I say?
Clearly, you're a zombie. I knew it. For FYI, Robert Persig passed away back in 2017.
Oh,
well, his
Jeff,
soul
are you a ghost?
lives in.
I feel like it right now.
Read my dense book about motorcycles.
It's a great book. Thank you very much.
It is. No, I love that book, but Adam, you got to admit it's dense.
It's heavy. I wouldn't say it's dense.
Oh, give me a break. Okay, same fucking. When you're talking about a book, that's the same goddamn thing.
I mean, it's 2020 though. Like, who reads books anymore? So, I guess should we hop into the DK?
Yeah. Tell us what Dirty Kanza is.
So, Dirty Kanza is a gravel race it starts in the city of Emporia, Kansas. So Flint Rock Hills of Kansas. And for those of you that haven't been to Kansas before, and I haven't been yet, it's apparently not flat. So it's a lot of rolling hills, grass meadows, the whole 9 yards, with really razor sharp rocks. But
Jeff, did I tell you I've ridden out in that area before?
You have not.
Yeah, it's no joke. They're steep freaking hills.
Adam's Mr. Dirty Kanza himself, so he invented the race.
Actually, I don't think that's true. That race was founded. This was back in like the mid 2000, like 2005, 2006. I think it was 2006, actually.
2006, total of 34 riders.
There you go. It's in the last 10, almost 15 years now, that race has exploded and has become like one of the most premier races, gravel races in the world. And I think last year they had it capped around 25 or 2,700 riders.
Jesus.
This year is supposed to be a little bit more. And it's super difficult to get into. They have a lottery system for entry.
So it's how much, like, is it 200 miles, 300 miles? How long is the race?
Well, there's a couple different options. I think the latest check for this year, they had a 25, a 50, a 100, a 200, which is like the standard. That is Dirty Kanza.
Right.
And then an event they added a few years back, they called the DK XL, which is about 350 miles, and is the one that I had put my name in the hat for, and was one of the lucky registrants.
Damn.
Registrants.
So you were registered to ride 350 miles on gravel.
Yes, sir.
let's establish that for a second. So for all the normal people out there, 100 miles on the road is considered like a pretty big feat as far as like your cat or recreational cyclist. Like people train for, months to do a century.
Right.
Like kind of like people train for a marathon. I think a marathon is a little bit harder than a century personally, but
and then Jeff goes and just says like he like rises up from his bed like the Terminator and is like, I'm going to do 143 miles today. I'm going to put 25 extra pounds of weight on my bike and my body, but I can do this. So
yeah, and it's I think it's nearly 20,000 feet of climbing over that.
Jesus Christ.
So
because the Dirty Kanza has now become huge. Like the race has been bought by some company.
Lifetime.
Yeah, to make it this premier cycling event. I mean, you'll see reports on Cyclocross magazine, bicycling magazines, like gravelcyclist.com about Dirty Kanza. People have built professional careers around winning Dirty Kanza, and you'll see their gear that they've used and the bikes that they use, the tires that they've used. And it's nice that they actually have like a 50-mile ride, like a 100-mile ride. Like, honestly, Jeff, I will never do 350 probably ever in my life, but a 50-mile ride in Kansas sounds kind of nice. So
it does. And I think that's one of the great things about the gravel cycling community is it's very inclusive. So yeah, I mean, you might not have the physical capability or even the desire to ride 200 or 300 miles, but there's still a way for you to partake and experience that atmosphere. So I think that's great.
And so in kind of that point on the desire to do more miles, what was your desire to do 350?
So this is going to sound kind of dumb.
But you're talking to Adam and I, who are the least dumb people out there.
I
right,
really
Adam?
thought about this and did a
sure.
I did a full analysis of my decision approach for this. And I said to myself, self, what would be the best way for me to participate in Dirty Kanza? So the 200-mile option is far and away the most popular. So I think for, the 2,500 slots or whatever it is, they probably have like 50,000 people apply. I'm making that number up, but it's a lot. You're
probably accurate, but
yes. So, the odds aren't all that great. So I was like, well, not a lot of people probably want to ride 350 miles.
Or can.
Right.
Yeah. Fair point, Adam. And so the lottery for DKXL takes place, I think the registration, it opened up in like mid-November, and then the announcements were mid-December. And then the lottery for the regular Dirty Kanza takes place in early January. So if I had missed that opportunity for the 350, then I would have had, a follow-up opportunity to put my name in the hat for the 200. Gotcha. So that was kind of my thought approach. And, I've never ridden 350 miles. I think my longest ride is just a little over half that. It's like when I did the 300 kilometers on my 30th birthday, it was like 188 or something like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Terrible. Jeez.
Yeah.
Step it up.
That was all Greenway. So it was like, compared to what I've been doing
like
here.
Dirty Kanza.
Yeah. Yeah. It was basically a trial run.
Right.
And Jeff, for the DKXL, so for the 350-mile course, that's mostly self-supported, correct?
Yeah, it's
like
entirely.
So you have like drop bags and stuff you can place around the course and have like a cooler, but it's you don't have a motorcycle coming up and giving you water every.
So actually, Adam, you can't. You can't receive any outside assistance.
Oh wow!
Unless like you have some guy who's set up a table and he's handing out water to everyone. It has to be indiscriminate like that.
Hot dog.
Adam's hungry. He wants a hot dog.
I thought he learned a new word.
He's like William Shakespeare. He creates new words. So
yeah,
just like you, he's a writer.
So because you don't have any outside support, no drop bags or anything, they give you a list of these various convenience store stops along the route, and they mark them with the mile marker and tell you what's available there. But even still, you have to be able to ride that gap in between. And I think from what I've read and what I've seen in the course description, there's about 100-mile gap at one point between stops. So you have to be able to carry 100 miles worth of stuff.
Until you actually do it, it's hard to visualize. But like Adam said, 100 miles for people, like that is a full day of riding. That I didn't realize that. That is crazy. What kind of like I didn't even realize about the convenience stores that you could stop at.
So Jeff, they had the first year of the DKXL, the 350-mile course was last year, correct?
I think it was 2018.
Do you know approximately how many people rode it and how many people completed it?
I know the first year was not a lot and it was a little.
Cool.
Yeah, it's so you have a 36-hour window to complete the course in.
That's insane.
Wow.
And so you start Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. And that gives you a full like 18 hours or so before everything else starts Saturday morning.
Wow,
so you're out on the course all night basically, which is nice because it can be really hot in Kansas at the end of May.
I think that's the other thing is there is no shade in Kansas.
Yeah,
like none. You are
everybody's really respectful to each other, so nobody's throwing shade. Yeah,
it's part of that inclusive community that I spoke to earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really banking on a 60-degree cloudy day.
Good. End of May, early June. That's
oh no.
You better bank hard, my friend. The problem is you don't want to bank too hard on a cloudy day because then that turns into rain.
Yeah, that's fair.
Coach Adam is worried about you. So Jeff, in getting so you decided to get in the lottery for this 350-mile ride like a crazy person, and then you got into it. How do you, and like we've said in previous minutes of this episode, you are a great cyclist, in amazing shape, but as you said, you have never done quite a ride like that. How do you even begin to train physically for that and mentally, and how do you remain passionate for that training? Because I mean, some people some people do 100-mile ride and they fall off. They're like, all right, I did the 100-mile ride, I can go back to doing my normal 20, 30-mile rides that I do. Like, how do you maintain that passion and that desire to get to that level?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, Dan. So I'm not going to say that I've figured out the secret formula, because I certainly have not. Sorry. I don't have it.
Okay. I was about to run to your house to get that secret formula from you.
I forget what it was. It was so secretive. And I guess, so for you millions upon millions of listeners out there, let me set the stage for you real quick for what was going on in my life during this time frame.
Oh, God.
I forget exactly. The lottery might have opened early December, but in late November, I crashed while I was out on the ride and just obliterated my collarbone. Not as bad as Dan's, but still pretty bad.
Collarbone brothers unite.
Hell yeah. And, I ended up having to get surgery on it, which sucked. And, being off the bike sucked, and not being able to use my arm sucked. And, the whole process really just sucked.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's not a great time. But, like all things, well, most things, it heals. So, I knew it was just a matter of time before I could be back out. And so as I'm thinking about what I want to do for 2020, I decided, okay, throw my name in the hat, see what happens. And I actually found out that I got selected for it the night before I was scheduled to go in for surgery. So my training for this 350-mile race started with orthopedic surgery. And,
so you told your surgeon, you were like, I got to get ready for this. Like, really give me the best drugs you have. Give me the best shoulder that you've got. Like, could you just put in some extra muscle in there to make me heal faster? Because I've got a 350-mile bike ride in 6 months.
You sure you don't want us to put that in your legs?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
You were drugged, so you didn't really understand it, but
sure, doc, whatever.
Yeah.
No, fortunately, there weren't any complications with that. So, surgery was December 17th. And then I was up at my parents', through the holidays. And I hopped on their spin bike, I think day 5 or 6 post-op. Doc probably wouldn't have been happy about it, but, whatever. Arm was in a sling.
You're a badass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it wasn't anything crazy. It was like 20 minutes just spinning the pedals. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of months on Zwift. And, when we have days like today, it is nice to be able to just get outside.
So you were even with your shoulder, you were still training indoors and keeping your fitness level up. Because I mean, you as a rider could do longer rides before your injury. So you were just kind of keeping your fitness level up inside on the trainer during the winter months, and also when you're recovering from your collarbone surgery.
Mm-hmm. And trying to build it up too. It's just like a culmination of bad timing. So I'd taken my my time off, and in October, and just started like building back up in late October, early November, and then I went and broke myself. Right. So all that fitness, which was already at a low point, just got lower. And I was working with a coach, and he's had riders experience this before. And he's like, "Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. We'll just we'll get you on the trainer, and you'll be surprised. You'll probably bounce back stronger than you would think otherwise." And there is something to be said for riding indoors, but that's another time for another podcast. But yeah, so to keep your mind, to not get burned out, going back to your question, every day can't be hard, right?
Right.
Because then your body just breaks down, and whether it's injury or you develop symptoms of overtraining where you're mentally fried, and then with that you can get sick because it does all sorts of things to your immune system, and you can avoid that by taking the easy days really easy and the hard days hard. And it's pretty basic, but it's a good approach.
For your training routine, to me, it's just as much about the journey as it is like doing the race. From once again, from what I can see from how you're preparing for this and your with your mental and physical preparation, to me, once again, from what I can see, is like the training is part of the fun for you. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I mean, that's where you see all the gains, right? And you can draw confidence or, be, let down by various workouts. But with a good training plan, generally the trend will be upwards, and you can draw confidence from that. And yes, the journey. So the thing about Dirty Kanza is it's not just about fitness. You could have the greatest fitness, but if you show up on the wrong gear, you could be screwing yourself before the race even starts. So I've had the opportunity to watch a lot of TV during my recovery. So I watched a lot of different YouTube videos about what people were using and what worked, what didn't. There's some cool stuff out there, and I went out and I had a cross bike, but I got myself a dedicated gravel bike. So that's, training, especially for an event like this, is an opportunity to test various strategies. What are you going to carry? What are you going to eat? What's going to be your fueling strategy? Today I totally botched that.
Nice.
I think the last 2 hours I tasted like I was burping up bourbon, and I had no desire to eat anything. Yeah, so at the end of a 140-mile ride, I was in a bad place.
Yeah, you sound remorseful.
I'm better now.
Daniel, you had a follow-up question?
So, Jeff, you talking about strategies and researching different strategies for Dirty Kanza. Do you plan on, and we can get into kind of the situation we're in now in the United States, but do you plan on doing multiple Dirty Kanza races? And if we can talk about what has happened for this year for Dirty Kanza for yourself personally.
Yeah. So, given everything that's going on in our society with this COVID-19 pandemic, earlier this week, I decided that it would be prudent of me to defer my entry to 2021. So I did that, and I unfortunately will not be there on the starting line in May, but I have a strong feeling that nobody will be there. So
right.
It's unfortunate, but it's kind of the hand we're dealt right now. So we just
also very, very smart. Thank you, Jeff, for realizing what you need to do as a normal human being. So thank you.
You're welcome, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks.
And I think it would be a tall ask, and I'm discovering this as I start doing some of these longer rides, but it'd be quite a challenge to be prepared to ride 350 miles in 8 weeks.
Gotcha.
From today. So that played into it a little bit too. And I'll bring up something that my coach had said, that a race as long as Dirty Kanza, it's not so much about fitness as it is, it's like an eating competition, because you burn so many calories, and if you can't take them in,
right,
you're never going to finish anyways. So you gotta train the gut.
Yeah, because heck, after like 100-mile mountain bike races, that's tough, and that is a third of what you're going to go through, and arguably, I would say as it's not going to be as rough of terrain, like no boulders and rocks, but like for a week afterwards, my gut was just destroyed because my stomach was, my body was trying to make sure I wasn't going to do that again.
Plus, you basically give yourself diabetes during these events because you're just sucking down all sorts of sugar and junk.
Right. Nice.
Right.
Go ahead, Adam.
I did have another question about that, Jeff. Once again, kind of on the higher level, more existential type question about you doing the DKXL. But is this something that you would want to do multiple times, or after, if you should you complete DKXL, ride fairly well and ride at a pace you're happy with and finish in a pace you're happy with, is that check the box and you move on to whatever other crazy thing you want to do, or is it something that you want to come back and improve upon year over year?
It's certainly a bucket list item. Not having done it, I can't say if I want to do it again yet, obviously. But, at some point I would want to do the 200 mile, because that's more of it's not a short race, but you have support. You have support throughout. So you can, kind of approach it from a different mentality and kind of, and push yourself a little harder, I think, in that respect. Because I think there's like 2 or 3 checkpoints, so you can kind of count on those. Plus, there's 150 less miles.
Yeah,
that's really good math, Jeff.
Thanks.
We'll have you on for our math episode.
I'm still upset that you guys didn't have me on for Redwall, but
We didn't know.
You didn't ask.
You're right. I was afraid to, honestly. I was already weirded out by Adam's passion for Redwall. So
It's such a good book series.
Really
I'm
is.
just kidding.
We're gonna convert this into Redwall 2.0.
Right. So
No, we're not.
Jeff, while you're racing Dirty Kanza, would you have your copy of Redwall with you to keep so you could take a little breaks and read a chapter of Redwall? So kind of my last question for Jeff, and then I can shut up. So one of my friends from Performance Bike, one of his friends registered for Dirty Kanza and got in for the 200 and went to Kansas and got to the start line. And
Got his bike.
No, yeah, he was actually running. He was doing the running version of the race. But within like 10 or 15 minutes of actually starting the race, he got stuck in some mud and his derailleur hanger frame, his bike frame completely broke.
The frame?
He couldn't. It was either the frame or the derailleur hanger, so he didn't complete the race because within 10 minutes he broke his derailleur hanger, which is his own fault that he didn't bring an extra derailleur hanger. But how do you kind of prepare mentally and physically for that kind of mechanical situations like that, Jeff?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm comfortable, working on bikes. So with mechanical issues, there's not really much that would bother me, if I had to fix it. I am planning to have an extra derailleur hanger, a spare set of brake pads. I've heard people bring in an extra set of cleats for the shoes. I don't get that, but
Interesting.
I guess maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. So you're like actually planning for everything that this race could throw you at.
Yeah, you have to be able to respond to whatever could happen. I mean, if you break a chain, you need to be able to fix a chain. So having some quick links and a couple extra, a little length of chain, to swap in if need be, stuff like that's going to be important to have.
Which I think shows your passion for kind of what you're getting into. So, Jeff, you have my blessing.
Oh.
You can go do Dirty Kanza next year.
Got so much time to train now.
Yeah, I know. In kind of wrapping up, Adam, do you have anything else, and Jeff, do you have anything else that you want to talk about related to gravel cycling?
No, I mean, I don't have any more questions for Jeff. I do. It's more of like if we look at the arc of gravel cycling and kind of where it's or how it's evolved in under a decade, basically, which is pretty impressive for what is considered to be like a very new category to the cycling market. Dirty Kanza has spawned, countless other gravel races, right? So you've got like the Belgian Waffle Ride, which is kind of a road / gravel-ish ride out in San Diego area. All of us have signed up for different local gravel grinders.
Low gravel challenge.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to Roadie Bicycle Outfitters, or the Croatan Buck 50. Any of these like adventure style races, which I think is pretty impressive. But still, Dirty Kanza still is top dog, and the DKXL on top of that. So, Jeff, with it, you mentioned earlier that you had deferred your registration to Dirty Kanza 2021, correct?
Yes.
So now that you have a year and 2 months to prepare, have you started that preparation cycle now, or have you thought about it?
No, I really haven't thought about it yet. I mean, if we count today's ride, then yes. But and unfortunately, we kind of just have to see how things unfold with this coronavirus stuff, and if they say 12 to 18 months that we could be experiencing this, and maybe, who knows?
Right.
Banking on it happening next year, but as far as that goes, yeah, no like concrete structured plan in place yet. I will say though that I have a few others on the agenda for later on this year, in June, and actually I think
Nice.
just June, but we'll see if those happen too. It's
Right.
yeah, everything's kind of up in the air at the moment. But going back to just gravel cycling in general, and the growth of the sport, and I think Adam, you mentioned these sort of like adventure type rides. I think what attracts a lot of people to it is you're not sure if you can actually do it, right? The Croatan Buck 50 is 150 miles, and the Croton National Forest here in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are plenty of people who have signed up that have never ridden 150 miles before. So it's a great opportunity to challenge yourself in an environment that has support. You have feed stops, you have emergency personnel. If something goes bad, and hopefully it doesn't, but I think there's an extra level of comfort there to kind of put yourself in a bad spot.
For sure. Yeah.
And that's kind of like the whole, like we kind of touched on the beginning, the whole point of gravel cycling is challenging yourself in a new environment, but almost not taking it too seriously. Like you can take it extremely seriously, or you can be a dude who just loves being out on your bike, loves being out in nature, doesn't want to get hit by a car, and just enjoy riding out on dirt roads in your local area. I mean, that's kind of what gravel cycling is all about, and what I love about it.
You have guys that are coming in from the World Tour, and they're showing up at these gravel races. The guys over at EF, they have a whole alternative racing calendar where they're doing these kind of adventure gravel races, in addition to your more traditional road cycling races like the Tour de France or things like that. So in one regard, it's cool. You can sign up and race against pros, but at the same time, there's an uncertainty to what's going to happen to the sport itself. Right now it's largely ungoverned, so race promoters have the freedom to do what they want, but I know the UCI is very interested in sort of taking it under its wing, if you will, and destroying it.
Well, and to that point, like you're going to Dirty Kanza, there are going to be pros there, but no one questions the dude doing 50 miles for the Dirty Kanza race who's riding, say, a hybrid, with mountain bike clothes or mountain bike gear on or mountain bike helmet. Like you are lining up with the people who are there for the love of the gravel cycling sport and what kind of that ethos and culture kind of brings to cycling.
It's hopefully it stays that way.
Hopefully.
So, you're free to do what works for you.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us. I know this was a little weird since we can't record in person and we can't feel each other's body heat and react to each other. I know. Never have I wanted to like hang out more with people at this point. I'm generally an introvert and don't want to really hang out with people at all.
I hear you.
So again, really thank you, Jeff, and Adam, for sharing this time with all of our listeners. Shall we hop into recommendations?
Sure.
Let's do
All
it.
right. So last time, Adam, you recommended to me that I watch the second season of F1 Racing, or on Netflix, F1 Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
I have not gone back into it. So, Adam, I do want to watch Drive to Survive. Like, honestly, I just need to be in the mood for those kind of things. And frankly, I'm not in the mood to watch. I'm kind of interested in F1 racing, but I'm not entirely invested in it. So I know I'm not as cool as you, man, but maybe we could do an F1 or NASCAR episode, and you can try and get me into it.
Sounds good.
Man.
And last time I recommended that you listen to Car Seat Headrest's Teens of Denial album. Did you listen to that?
Yes, I listened to both, and I can't remember what it was. Which one?
So the other one, so it was Car Seat Headrest's Teens of Denial, and then Sylvan Esso's album What Now, which is an electronic duo.
Okay. I liked the Sylvan Esso stuff.
Interesting.
The car seat headrest, not as much, but I enjoyed
so.
both.
So in our last episode, I asked like if you like to dance, if you like to like shake your little ass, or just like bob around a little bit. Did either of those albums make you want to just like dance and wiggle your hips around a little bit?
Not really. I just don't like to dance though.
Damn it, Adam! What the hell?
I'm with you, Adam.
Damn it, Jeff! What the hell? All right. Well, I'm glad you checked those out, Adam. So, Jeff, as our guest, what would you like to recommend to us today? Like nothing to do with cycling. Could be something that you're just really jonesing on right now, especially in self-isolation. I'm sure we're rediscovering things that we are passionate about. So what would you like to share with us as a recommendation today?
So, have either of you guys watched the movie Outbreak? It's on Netflix right now.
No,
I have not.
I think it was released in 1994. It's got a couple big names. What's his name? He's got the voice.
I know him. I know him.
Yeah. So that guy. All right.
Oh my
so
God.
You have Morgan Freeman and Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, Tootsie himself.
Tootsie himself. But yeah, it's a very relevant movie right now.
Right.
So I'd give that a check.
Have you watched Contagion, Jeff?
I have not.
Okay. I think that's an even updated version of Outbreak. Okay. I will check out Outbreak on Netflix.
And
Adam?
Tiger King.
Oh, and Tiger King. Damn it. I don't really want to watch that one, Jeff. I'll be honest. I see just the dude with the blonde mullet, his face appear in Netflix, just pop up, and it really freaks the shit out of me. So that is a qualified recommendation for me. So
it's like a train wreck. You just can't look away. Sorry, Adam. I know you don't like to think about that, I'm sure.
Well, now you've done it, Jeff. So,
Adam, what would you like to recommend to us today?
So, two things to listen to. One being Lamb of God put out a new single called Memento Mori.
Another one?
Yeah. Well, they're leading up to a new album release in May. So, it's awesome. Daniel, have you listened to it yet?
I have, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I'm in love. Can't wait. The second,
Adam, you should be in love with people. Adam, you should be in love with people, not songs.
The second is a band, kind of a blast from the past, but Thrice. Did either of you all listen to Thrice back in the day?
Yeah, isn't
the name's familiar?
I used to listen to Thrice a lot. Isn't the front man of Thrice like a piece of shit?
Is he? Oh.
Wow, you just ruined that one for Adam.
I really just want to take the wind out of Adam's sails right now.
Take the wind out of the sails and put a hole in the bottom of the boat.
Anyways.
What's your recommendation, Adam?
So anyways, because they started, like, Dustin Kinsrew was like a worship leader when he first started out. And it's the same people, but anyways.
Gotcha.
So there was I just started listening to them again. Their latest album, Palms, and when I say latest album, it was put out in 2018. But I find it really good. The vocals of the band have changed, so the front man has his voice has changed and gotten a little bit more gravelly, and so it sounds a little bit less.
Oh, it's gotten more gravel cycling-y.
Yeah.
There we go.
All that dust.
Yeah, all that pollen.
Their sound is a little bit more grungy, as opposed to, I'd say, like emo pop.
Nice.
Is how I would, or emo rock is how I describe them. Back in the mid 2000s. So, anyways, the album Palms by Thrice, it's just good listening at this point in time.
Huh? I'll check it out.
Yeah. Yep.
And this time around, Adam, I am going to recommend to you also a musical album from a music band called Red Death. They are a DC-based punk band, but their latest album, let me pull it up, it is called Sickness Divine.
Okay.
It is, so the band is Red Death. The album is Sickness Divine. It is more of a metal album than a punk album. So it's like a clear blending of punk and metal to be like a really, really good thrash album with kind of Metallica-like and Kill 'Em All-like riffs and vocals. And it's really good. I've been rocking out to it this past week. So yes, please check out Red Death's Sickness Divine.
I'll definitely check it out.
Please do. Well, Jeff, thank you again so much for talking with us about gravel cycling us. Yeah.
Hey, thank you for letting me talk to you.
We really appreciate your hard work and your hot body and your porridge and your boxer briefs. Of course, we are on all the social medias. Adam, what is our Twitter profile?
Oh boy, it's Passion Fruits P2.
Oh my God, I'm about to cry. You got it right. And we are on Facebook at
Passion Fruits Podcast.
Instagram at
Passion Fruits Podcast.
We have a blog at passionfruitspodcast.home.blog. We are on YouTube. We are on all your podcast apps. Sincerely, everybody, we know that everybody's going through kind of a weird, rough, shitty time right now with the COVID-19 coronavirus. We sincerely hope that you are taking social distancing and medical professional advice seriously. And we hope that this podcast provided you some respite from the craziness that's going on. So I've been Daniel signing off.
Oh,
is anybody else still there?
Thanks for listening. I'm Adam. We've never said our names at the end of an episode, Daniel.
What the hell's throwing you off.
And I'm
I
still
got him,
Jeff.
Oh, nice. And we are Passion Fruits Podcast. Good night, everybody.
Peace out.
Bye.